And there we are. Suddenly, again, I was wondering if I should press something or that the intro just disappears on its own, and it is the latter, apparently. So, goedemorgen, goedemiddag, goedenavond. That's how you say in Dutch. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are joining us from the world. So here we are. It's Gerald, Sean, Pedro, Vlad this evening. Brandon was not able to join us today. He was not feeling so well. So that's also why I'm in control of the stream. So I hope I don't mess it up. Rui, boa noite, which is, I guess, Portuguese. So that's
Yeah,
great. Rui is on the Exam Reforms team. He is my teammate, so that's cool. Sean, how are you doing? What's up with you?
I'm good. Yeah, thanks. Not a lot really changes, but yeah, we're good.
Good, good,
It's been a good
good.
week.
Pedro,
Good.
how's it for you?
is everything fine here? Not
All
changed too
fine.
much.
I
Yeah,
see it's warm because the fan is spinning.
yeah. I'm close inside because it's rainy again. Looks like I always rainy on the Xamarin Community Toolkit stand up.
Yeah.
So
All right, so that's how it works. All right, Vlad, how is it for you?
Yeah, привет, hello.
Ah,
Yeah,
preview.
I'm fine. I'm just back from my physical training, so I'm full of energy.
Ah, good. We need that. We
Yeah.
need that. I'm always full of energy somehow. So that's good. Let's get started. I also, because, it's a little bit different than usual, so I also need to gather all the things here. But no worries, we'll figure something out. So let me just share my screen and start with some good news. I already shared my screen. Let's just add it here. So because we did a couple of releases actually, most notably the Xamarin Community Toolkit version 2.0. So a new major version with all this kind of new stuff. Actually, we updated the release notes after we released it because there was one PR that kind of hit all the release notes, all the commits that we put in here. So it looked like nothing much had happened, but actually a lot has happened. And I'm noticing a typo right now. So let's just fix this live on stream. Introducing an all new major version of .or. There we go. We're fixing things in production live on stream. Um, so there we are. So what is new in here? I think there is a couple of double. I think things have already been in other release notes, so I'm not sure how that happened. But yeah, there's just good stuff in here. Does anyone have anything to note in here? What made it into 2.0? What we should really highlight here? No one. Okay, good. So we have the more accessibility stuff by Rachel, who is also on the Xamarin Forms and .NET MAUI team. So we're trying to get all kinds of accessibility stuff into the Xamarin Community Toolkit, and that stuff will automatically also be in the box for .NET MAUI automatically. So that is really cool. You can already start using that for your Xamarin Forms apps today, and you can also benefit from that in .NET MAUI, and you don't need to do anything extra there. So that is like really nice. Rui in the chat is saying the media element for macOS. Yes, that's really cool as well. The media element is our control that we have to play videos, to play audio, to do all these kinds of cool stuff. It was already supported for a lot of platforms, which this is a community contribution by Peter Foot, if I'm not mistaken. I think I did a Xamarin Show episode with him as well. So I think we have iOS, Android, Windows, WPF, and now we have Mac OS as well. So that is very, very cool. Thank you so much, Yuri Holombiowski, I think. Yuri Holombiowski. I kind of assume that's right. So yeah, that's definitely very cool as well. Camera view, I think we're going to talk about that in the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit context as well. So just check this out for yourself. I'm not going to read this all out loud to you. But yeah, this is really cool stuff. And I think as a team, we should be really proud of now having a version 2.0. So that is amazing. So what else do we got? I did the welcome. I did our release notes of 2.0. So I think now it's time to switch over to the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit, where we have a bunch of new proposals, discussion, pull requests, other things. And like last time, we had more content than time. to stream here, so we better get to it pretty fast. So hopefully we can cover all the things here. So let me just see if I can copy this link right here, put it in here. And the first thing we have is a ship.readme.txt with packages to inform consumers of necessary steps. Sean, this is something that you brought up, I think.
Yes, yeah. So it cropped up during the week. Someone had some issues with using some namespace parts, and they were using purely XAML, using it only in XAML, which meant that the linker would rip it out, and therefore it wouldn't compile. We have some functions that need to be called in order to initialize the toolkit. At the moment, we don't have documentation. Obviously, that's something we're working on. But the suggestion was we could, like other packages do, we will ship a readme.txt file with the NuGet package, and then when you install it in Visual Studio, it'll automatically open and then give the developer some guidance on the steps that they need to follow in order to use the toolkit or initialize it.
Yep. So one of the first packages that come to mind that still do this is Xamarin Essentials. I know they do this as well. But I'm kind of I feel we are repeating this like every stand-up. But is this still, because we also have the change where we do, like, for the generic host builder, we say like use MAUI Community Toolkit. I don't know what the exact name is.
Use MAUI.
Is that what? Toolkit. Yeah, exactly. So is that what's going to be in this README?
Yes, yeah. This README will suggest that they need to do that.
Okay.
And there's also one for the markup for consistency. So if you install the markup, it might also there'll be a guidance there in a similar way. So at the moment, actually, this proposal doesn't actually suggest the contents of what's going in it.
Yeah.
I'll update that. But yes, so it will guide them to use that extension method for the app builder.
Right. So this is kind of the problem, right? We also have this for the Xamarin Community Toolkit, which is kind of annoying, because if you're using things only in XAML, like this person is doing here, I'm sorry, I'm always confused how to pronounce his name. Does anyone know? Is this this is an I, right? So it's Ewan?
I think.
Okay, Ewan, if you're watching this, please send me a voice message somehow to let me know how to pronounce this, because I'm really curious, genuinely. But anyway, back to the topic. So if you're using this only in XAML, which is like, if you're using this converter and you only use XAML, this makes total sense, right? So that happens for a lot of people. And then it will come up with like, hey, wasn't found, blah, blah, whenever you run your application. Mostly whenever you do a release build, because then we're trying to optimize things, and the compiler will take out all these kinds of things that it sees like, hey, there's no reference to this. And because it's in XAML, right, it sees that there is no hard reference in code. So it thinks like, hey, this is not null or empty converter. No one's using this one, so I'm going to throw it out so that our app will become smaller. But obviously in XAML, it was being used. So to kind of like go around that, we have thought for the Xamarin Community Toolkit to also add some kind of dummy method, which was a while back for Xamarin packages very common because of other reasons. And we decided to not do that. But now for the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit, we probably have some actual use for like the generic host builder call, or maybe not. I think it kind of depends on the Xamarin Forms compatibility layer. But anyway, we're going to implement that thing, which should really help. But now we need some way to inform the consumers of our .NET MAUI Community Toolkit package that they need to add that little initialization line, right? So that is then basically what we should
That's
do.
where we got to in the end, yeah. I think if you expand the more comments at the bottom, but yeah. So that it will, the change will be to add this readme.txt file and then also add some documentation to say the same thing.
So is this, I don't know, usually, like I said, Brendan does this. This is like a proposal, right? So we should technically vote if we're gonna do this, yes or no?
Yes, we're supposed to vote.
Yeah. All right. So I don't actually, I mean, this is nothing even really something functional, right? So I really don't see any reason not to do this, basically.
No.
So
Especially
is there?
after we, yeah, especially
go ahead.
after we get the documentation ready, so it will be one another step where people can get started, just install the package, and we'll see what they actually need without going to the documentation website.
Yeah, exactly. So, and yeah, exactly. Because the thing I really like about this is that it pops up after the installation. So it's right there in your face. You're gonna go like, ooh, okay, what happened? And then there's a higher chance of you reading the thing actually. I'm terrible at that usually, but yeah. So I would definitely say that this is useful. I don't think and it's not necessary. I don't think it should have too much text. But basically, like if you want to start using this, use this initialization line here. For the rest of the documentation, go here basically, but something like that. So, is there anyone who thinks we shouldn't do this? I'm gonna remove my hand so that no one thinks that I'm okay. Good. So I guess this is we're gonna do this. Maybe people in the chat who think this is a terrible idea. No, I don't like clear instructions on how to get started. Ooh.
Okay.
Cool.
Oh, I can move that into.
Great.
Approved.
That would be cool. That is great. So then next, very interesting. It's so exciting. Are you kind of like exciting now? Who's going to talk next? No, because you can see the schedule as well. Camera view, minimal port. So I think there has been a lot of been said about the camera view already, because Pedro, we have the Xamarin Community Toolkit. We already have the camera view, which has been APR for Xamarin Forms for a long, long time. Then at some point, it was clear that it's not going to go into Xamarin Forms anymore. So we decided to do it in the Xamarin Community Toolkit. Well, I'm not going to say we regret it, but it caused a lot of headaches, and it's just not the thing that we envision it to be, because it's not really stable. I think we did some good fixes here and there, so I think it's pretty good right now. And it's not even because we're doing a bad job. I mean, certainly not. But it's just because the APIs, well, especially on Android, are very hard to use. And also, we have, like, if you know a little bit about the Android ecosystem, we have the Android support packages, and then I always confuse them. We had Camera 2, I think, which was the first implementation, which is very hard. And now we have Camera X, but that has been in beta for like forever, for years now. So we were kind of like, we want to wait until Camera X is done. But yeah, it doesn't seem to get any more done than it is today. So I think at this point we decided like, hey, we're going to try with Camera X. But yeah, so Pedro, is that kind of like, is that the story? Is that what I'm saying here?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, we did a great job migrating that PR from Forms to Xamarin Community Toolkit. I remember that I took the Android part and it was really painful at that time. It's not that easy to make that. And I remember that we are talking to migrate our implementation to Camera X, but the video recording feature that was not implemented on the Camera X was blocking us to do that. And now Google just published that feature to the Camera X API. So yeah, we will be good to go without missing any feature. But this plan is like to reduce the amount of features that we will port to the Maui Community Toolkit, but that doesn't mean that we will not port everything at the end of the day. We will, but we will do in steps, just to make sure that the minimal parts that we implement and migrate will be solid and stable. And when we have that when we have make sure that we have that stable, we'll add more features. And of course, if you have the support for the community, sending PRs, we can do that for GA. So let's see what can do.
All right. Just trying to put this in the chat proposal. There we go. Yeah, so if I understand correctly, right, so the top table here is what we have today, right? So that's everything that is in the Examiner Community Toolkit. And the bottom one here is what you're proposing that we start with, which will be implemented across all the platforms. And of which we're going to make sure that these work all right. And from there, we're going to add the rest, right? So that's kind of like where we're going. And I really like that plan personally. I like and I hate it at the same time, because I like it. We should just start small. But I hate it because people will now have less functionality if they're coming from the Examiner Community Toolkit. On the other hand, chances are that people are not really using like the take video and whatever, because it, like we said, it isn't that stable. So hopefully we won't break too many people here. And of course, if you are broken by this, we welcome your contributions, because it's the community toolkit. So yeah, I think this is a great plan. Pedro, did you already do some kind of proof of concept with this? Did you already try a little bit with this to see if the camera X stuff actually is a little bit decent?
Not on the Xamarin World, but I took a look into some sample codes on the Google Docs and some Google videos about that, and also a lot of blog posts, because I remember when I was spiking about the Camera 2 API, every blog post that I read, the author complains about the Camera 2 API. And with Camera X API, I didn't see too much complaints about it. So I believe it's more easier to work than the Camera 2.
All right, cool.
Just a small, sorry,
yeah.
just a small question about it. So we only change like Android implementation from Camera 2 to Camera X, but
Yes.
iOS version and UWP version will remain the same.
Yeah, the iOS will be the same. The Windows, I don't know, because we need to migrate to EY APIs.
Yeah,
Like right now we are on UWP, and I don't know if they changed something there. So
yeah, that's a good
basically,
question. Because it's not technically UWP, of course. It's now going to be like the WinUI stuff, and I think that's also missing some bits. So that might be an interesting thing. On the other hand, I mean, I think with .NET MAUI, more people are looking also for Windows support. I see more interest, at least, in like the desktop side of things as well. But I think at the moment for the Examiner Community Toolkit, I don't remember any issues talking about the Windows side of things too much, especially not for camera view. But that definitely will be interesting. But to your question, Flat, yes, the iOS APIs are pretty simple actually, and so that code should be basically copy and paste. For Android is going to be a little bit different. Rui in the chat is asking no macOS support. That is a good question. Pedro, do you have any thoughts about that one?
well, if the Mac Catalyst API works like in the happy path, that will be there for GA. If not, we will need more time to figure out how to make that work.
Yeah, that's a good one. We should definitely investigate that. So I think with that little side note, I see Brandon has done a lot of things here as well. This is a great start. A couple of recommendations for the API. So I think the API, the public API we have in the Examiner Community Toolkit is mostly okay as well. Yeah, so I see Steve, like our goal is definitely to also, support all the targets that .NET MAUI is also supporting. With the kind of side note that, we now have a lot of code, of course, obviously lying around for iOS and Android, mostly UWP a little bit. And then we get into kind of like the area of like, we don't have the same time to spend on this stuff as actual .NET MAUI, because this is all in our free time. So I'm not trying to say like, hey, you should do the work for us, but in this area with getting like the new platforms in here, your help, the community help, is very much appreciated, I think. So if you have some knowledge about any of these and you think like, hey, this is missing and this is important to me, I would definitely ask you to try and contribute something, because there is only so much we can do, and that's going to be like the quick wins, to just turn everything from the Xamarin Community Toolkit into the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. That's going to be our first goal, I think, and then from there, we're definitely going to try to add all the targets that .NET MAUI is supporting as well. Absolutely. Okay. Anyone has any more questions or thoughts about this? Good. Then are we going to do this? Who says we're going to do this? Cool. Well, everyone. Anyone wants to object in the chat, then you're too late now. We're doing it. Haha. All right, cool. So yeah, this looks good. Let's do it. Yeah, this is also one of those controls that I would really like to see in .NET MAUI somewhere in the future, because it's just something that every modern app is doing, right? Taking pictures, doing all these things, together with kind of like the media element. So those would be great controls to have in there. All right, so I think we went through the proposals that we have right now. And well, time-wise, we're not doing too bad. But I see we have a lot of discussions. So actually, let me mix up the order here a little bit so that we don't see Pedro again. But let's go over to Vlad right now. And let's talk a little bit about the cancellation token. What's that?
Yeah, the proposal first came from validators, where the person was not able to cancel the long task. For example, when he make a validation and make, for example, requests, then it was not possible to cancel this request or cancel any long validation. So proposal here that we should allow to pass a cancellation token and cancel the task. But then this proposal grows up, and for now, I suggest to implement all to pass cancellation token in all APIs where we return task or value task, and it's already implemented for snack bar. So that's a proposal. So I think we should implement it during our migration and then in future as well.
Great. So yeah, because technically what enables this, for the people who might not be aware, this kind of like enables functions to be canceled, right? It sounds very simple, but to be programmatically canceled, because for some things you might, I don't know, pop a dialog box, or for the snack bar, like you said, and you're gonna either the user is going to have to do some interaction, or you're going to run some kind of timer maybe to cancel it or to hide it. But with these cancellation tokens, you just have this reference to an object, and you can say like, hey, okay, something happened and I want to cancel this thing, right? So then in the case of the snack bar, it will disappear automatically. And in case of like the multi-validation behavior, it will maybe stop validating the rest of the things because something happened. So that's kind of like where this is at. And basically everything that produces a task, so with the whole async await stuff, you can kind of cancel because it has support for cancellation tokens, but we have not kind of like surfaced that into our APIs, that people can provide this cancellation token and actually cancel all the things. And I see Brandon is saying here, I'm a little embarrassed that we didn't implement this from the beginning. So this seems like a good thing to do. Yeah, but definitely, like you said, I like the thinking there. Like, this person it's Henry saying about the validation behaviors, but I like that you think like, hey, okay, we should definitely do it there, but we should see and do it everywhere, basically. So we're going to identify all the things and make the whole package better in general, instead of just focusing on this one problem where someone is asking about. So That's great. So I think we're going to see a proposal for this, and then we're going to have to vote and see how to implement that, right?
Yeah, I can even add that, for example, for validations, validation behavior, we already have some cancellation token, but it's in internal method, so it's actually not used publicly. So we just need to move it to the public methods as well.
Cool. All right. I'm gonna skip to let's go to Pedro now for effects to behaviors. Oh, I think we talked about that before. And this is not even, I think. Okay, I think Brandon might have mixed this up. So let's save this for later because this is actually a PR. Ooh, little cliffhanger for the rest of the show. So let's park this one for now. Let's go to the next one. Discussion to this one is, I think we talked about this one before as well, right? Or maybe not. Maybe we didn't get to it. So this was one of mine actually, because I saw that the microcharts library, the maintainer of that said like, hey, I've moved up in the world. I'm going to do different things, and I'm not going to really maintain this library anymore. And it's a really cool library. If you can see here, it does all this charts based on Skia Sharp. And this is all with Xamarin Forms, right? And it looks really pretty, and it's just, I always hate to say simple, but it is like, a simple chart library in the sense that it's really easy for you to use. So there's a lot of work usually goes into code to make something easy to use, right? And it looks really amazing. So I would hate for us to lose this. And then I thought like, hey, maybe we can, with the author's consent, we can maybe turn this into something that lives inside of the Xamarin community, the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit, excuse me. So yeah, I kind of came with that idea, this discussion with like, hey, can we maybe take this into the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit? We would have then to think about how we would do that specifically. This is something that we come back to in certain times, because we would then have a reference to Skia Sharp. So then we would probably do it in some kind of separate library so that we don't have this hard dependency on Skia Sharp, and people who do not want to use this charting stuff don't need the dependency on Skia Sharp. Now, with all the compiler doing smart things, it should also remove that reference again, but people aren't too happy with bringing in these references if they don't need it, which I totally understand as well. So we could do a separate library for that, or another thing that we could do, which I proposed here, is base it on Microsoft.maui.graphics, which is a really cool solution as well, so that we use that as a drawing backend and do not have the dependency on Skia Sharp necessarily. So yeah, that is a couple of options here. I see there has been some input with some other as a complete outsider. And I see someone mentioning like Maui versus Flutter. And so he says like for Flutter, there's already a couple of libraries doing this. So, I get that because Flutter has been out there for a couple of years and .NET MAUI isn't even released yet. So I definitely see that there are a couple of libraries for Flutter already. That kind of makes sense. And for .NET MAUI, not yet. But that also kind of underlines that we want to get ahead of the game and get a charting library for .NET MAUI going as well, I would say. So
maybe it would be easy now when we have a Blazor, MAUI and Blazor in the same application, and where you can move like all your power of web developer inside of MAUI application. Maybe it will be another great area where you can implement some beautiful things. But yeah, it will be like a web application inside of native application.
yeah, that's also something we definitely could consider with all the Blazor stuff going on right now. Absolutely. So I put the link in the chat on the screen. If you want to pitch in with this discussion, let us know your thoughts so we can come to some kind of proposal that we can actually work on, implement, and everyone will be happy. All right, let's see what else we got. Brandon at F# sample project. Well, Brandon is not here to talk about it, but let's put it on the screen for a little bit. So I know there is some stuff for F#, and with some stuff I actually wanted to say I know there is a community of F# who also would love to see support for .NET MAUI, .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. I think we have F# support for Xamarin Community Toolkit. Yes, no, I don't know.
We even have a sample.
Okay. Well, if they have a sample, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not a big F# user myself, so sorry about that. But yeah, so I think we're also trying to, well, like Brendan says, let's ensure that Community Toolkit.maui has first-class support for F# because, wherever possible, we're trying to make as much people happy as possible. That is what we're all about. So also this discussion, I see, Pedro, you're involved, so you know a little bit about this. Maybe you can tell us something about this.
That has been a while since I touched on this discussion, but it's more like we set up our community toolkit to be compatible with F#, just like the Xamarin community toolkit is right now. So
As far as I remember, there was an issue with generators, source generators, which are not supported by F#.
Yeah, that one, because we implemented that text to color generator. So and a generator generates C# code. I know that F# can consume C# code, or C# DLLs, but we don't know how that will work with generators. So we still need to investigate that area, but I don't know F# as well, so that makes a little bit harder to do the spike.
Sure. So basically, the status is right now that we're identifying the things that are not working, that are blocking F# people from using this, basically, and we're trying to make that better so that we have F# support out of the box. And yeah, it's probably what you say, right? Like you should be able to reference this library from an F# project, just like you would be able to mix Visual Basic and C# if that's what you want. But there might be some things that are not supported for some reason. So we're trying to identify those and take those away so that it can be used with F# projects as well. So if you are an F# user, if you're trying to use this and you find blockers for some reason, the discussion is in the chat. And oh, Brandon is here. Woo! We would need to create a new source generator for text color too that generates F# code. Well, there we go. So that's kind of like in the thing that I said, right? Like we're trying to identify blockers here and take those out so that this can be used in F# project as well. Great. Yeah, so I see Steve is commenting on the chat on like the charting. Syncfusion already has MAUI charting. Yes. I know the .NET MAUI team, so that's including me, are working with our partners. So that's Syncfusion, that's Telerik, that's the other ones I keep forgetting, but I love them equally. We're actively working with them for the .NET MAUI support as well. So charting has always been, I think, a big feature for those packages as well. So that's definitely another option that you could look at too. And I think, is it Syncfusion? Who also has like the free community license, so you could even use that for free, because Sean is saying something like the commenter was comparing only free options for charting. So yeah,
I didn't realize they offered a free package.
Yeah, I think it's Syncfusion. I think
it's Syncfusion, but it depends on the application how much money you earn from your application.
Yeah, I think you should look it up, but I think like you are just a single. Well, not you right now, but I think if you're a single developer and you're, or maybe you can even have a company to 5 or something, 5 employees, but you're not making more than $1 million a year or something, you can use it. So but there's a lot of people who are doing like side projects and whatnot, and you can use it for free. You learned that here at the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit Standup. Calendar, yes, that's one of mine as well. Really cool. Calendar, I just discovered this the other week. which is oh yeah, oh, he opened it himself. Yeah, I asked him to do that. So this is Marvin, my good new friend Marvin. 7 days ago, and I came across his X Calendar library, which is now a Xamarin Forms library. Um, that looks amazing, I think, because there are multiple. A calendar control, again, this is one of those things that should be simple to use, but it's really hard to pull it off. So this is a calendar control. I think it looks really nice. It has a lot of styling options. It had a lot of other options. To be very, very honest, I think there are some options that kind of conflict with each other, that make it a little bit weird to use. Like we have like the selected date and selected dates, and you really need to know which one of these you are using, because if you're using selected dates and you set the selected date, the selected date will change basically, which kind of makes sense, but you constantly have to check which selection mode you have basically, which didn't feel very intuitive for me. Um, Personally, I think if I implemented it, I would just go with selected dates always. And then depending on the selection mode, single or multiple, it will just have one value or multiple values, basically. Then you kind of unify that API. Anyway, this is too much implementation already. It has a lot of options. It's really, really cool. But, I said, hey, maybe this is a cool option to bring to the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit as well. Because this is all Xamarin Forms, which is really cool, but we want to have this stuff for .NET MAUI Community Toolkit for .NET MAUI as well. So yeah, that's kind of like where we're at. What are, like, this is not a proposal, but what are first thoughts of people here on the call?
I have potential use for it, so yeah, I'm up for it. Looks good.
And they know even one person who will like it very much.
That's you.
Yeah, we also have the calendar control PR closed for Xamarin Community Toolkit, so probably we can
That's right.
take a look on both and try to merge the APIs and features and create an awesome calendar control.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So we had one. We should definitely add that. Yes. Yes. I should definitely get on that. Pedro, yes, thank you for reminding me. We had a calendar PR in Xamarin Community Toolkit as well. So we should definitely check out if we could still reuse some of that code, combine the best things of both of these PRs, and put that in the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. That is a great reminder. I will leave this tab open, and then add that to this discussion as well. And I just put the discussion in the chat on the screen. So if you have any other thoughts, you as a valued community member, please let us know as well. So last of the discussions, we have, I'm going to leave this tab open. Let's see if that works for me as a reminder for tomorrow. Vlad with the drawing view. So what's up with the drawing view? Oh, signature pad. Right. Yes. Okay. I remember this. This was 2 days ago. So phew, I remember that. It was very recent. Someone was asking, hey, can we get the signature pad, which is a very old component in Xamarin Land, which was pretty amazing, where you could ask people for signatures. I've implemented it a couple of times. So are we going to migrate that to MAUI? Maybe it can go to .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. But we have the amazing Vlad, and he already implemented the drawing view. So Vlad, we could use that, right?
Yeah, sure. It is already implemented in Xamarin Community Toolkit, and now it's in proposal to migrate it in to .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. I think last month we discussed it a bit, and if you scroll down, I left a comment there with the or maybe not here. Let me just send you a link. And it contains the information which I found that we can reuse MAUI graphics package, where we so we do not need to implement our own canvas. It's already implemented by MAUI team, so we can just reuse it, and that's it.
Right, because so that's the second time we are talking about Microsoft.maui.graphics. So maybe for the people who don't know it, that's kind of like an abstraction for the platform drawing libraries, right? So iOS has something to draw, Android has something to draw, WinUI has something to draw, Rui is now asking, do we have a canvas? So maybe we should double check that. But that's kind of like an abstraction on all of those drawing libraries on the platforms. So that you basically just like .NET MAUI Examiner Inform, so that you as the consumer just have this unified single API, but we will do all the platform specific handling for you. So we will translate your line, your canvas, everything you're doing on a canvas to the platform specific stuff, and you just have to worry about the drawing bit. And okay, Rui says, yes, we have a canvas on graphics. Phew. Else we had to cancel this plan. So we have all of that, and we have a drawing view already for the Examiner Community Toolkit, which is basically the same thing with a little bit of a more generic name, so that you can also do drawings. But a drawing can also be a signature, right? Because you can get the image from that, you can get all the points from that, so you can definitely translate that into a signature whenever it's saved to a database and back. So you can do all these things, and basically we already have a signature pad that is way better than the original component that is referenced here. So case closed, we just need to implement it, and we got it.
Any objections to move it to approved state?
Well, this is still okay. So this was the discussion, right? So
I think we already have like here 108 issue.
Let me see issues. You know the numbers. That's not good, Vlad. You need to go out more. Okay, drawing view, yes. Let's see. What do we have in here? I don't think it's a
here I left a comment which I just discussed.
Okay.
Instead of implementing our own canvas for Android and iOS, we can just reuse MAUI graphics, which already have native graphics view. So that's it.
Okay. Let's not rush into moving it to accepted right now. I will look into this, and let's get the discussion going here, right? So, all right. So I think that was all the discussions. Cool. So, Vlad, since you're talking anyway, let's go over to the pull requests. I'll keep this open as well, so I am reminded of to put some input in there as well. Oh, this was already merged. Well, we don't need to talk about this. Implicit usings, Vlad. What does this do? What did we merge?
It's a great feature which I think keep it with .NET 6. You know that instead of duplicating usings in each file, like using system text or something like that, you just don't need to do it. You need to add like this implicit usings enabled, and in each platform, in web, in MAUI application, it will automatically add this like global usings to all your files, and you can do not need to set it in each file. So
exactly.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of use to. I get that. Some people love it, other people don't. Because basically what this does, like, if you paste a little bit of code, or you start typing something and you don't have the right using at the top yet, IntelliSense will suggest to you like, hey, you need to add this using, right? And basically that's going away, because it will just for you add that using in some kind of generated file. And you don't ever have to worry about it again. So you don't have this, because I think for typical kind of projects, it's not that bad. But I've worked now on a couple of like Microsoft internal projects. I've seen the source of Visual Studio. It's just one page of usings first, right? So I think they're really happy with implicit usings, and to get rid of that first bit of code. So
but sometimes it may be conflicts, especially in MAUI application, where we have Android application and we have MAUI application. So sometimes we need to explicitly write what we actually need.
It's not always great, right? But that's what happens. Okay, cool. But
in general, it's a great idea.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much for this. So we had this other discussion, which was actually a pull request by Pedro, and then we need to find something for Sean, because he hasn't been talking that much as well. Pedro, converting effects into behaviors. We've talked about this before, I think. But what was going on?
So we talked about the idea to drop the effects APIs in order to use the behaviors one. So this draft PR is just a POC of a proof of concept about what the API should looks like. So on the files changed there is the base behavior platform, that there is the API that we use in our, instead of the effects control. And there is one effect migrated to that I can't remember which one is. Just give me a second. But the idea is just to, people from the community and us from the maintainers team to take a look on the API and feel how that looks like and how will be the API for that. So, but right now we have a little issue on the Maui side that it's a open issue for that. I added the issue on the PR comments because when the view, actually when the attached behavior is called, the view is not null, but the handler in Maui context is null. So that causes some issues. There is a workaround that is just adding a task.delay there, wait a little bit, the Maui to warm up. But it's already reported to the Maui team, and I just saw that is labeled as high priority issues. So, probably we will have that fixed soon.
Yeah, I remember now. So yeah, you came to the conclusion that it's referenced right here. Remove behavior when the controls is destroyed. Yeah, that the behaviors weren't detached and destroyed the same way that effects were. So you opened an issue for .NET MAUI, and
There is another one.
okay.
If you go
Doesn't
to
really
the issues on the NET MAUI, should be the one of the top on all the issues on the .NET MAUI.
this one
Nope. Let's see if I
doesn't
can
really
find
matter.
it.
Okay, do that and send it to me if you can find it. But anyway, so that was
Okay.
kind of blocking us on the .NET MAUI side, right? We need something from that side first before we can transform all of our effects to behaviors or the other. Because else we would cause all kinds of memory leaks, right? So that wasn't great. So before we can actually decide to do that, we first need to get this right in the .NET MAUI code base first. Oh,
Yep.
it will even be an exception when something happens. So, all right, cool. Yeah, Pedro, let's make sure that if we need this and we want to get this done for .NET MAUI GA, I saw Javier was involved as well. But be sure to remind us of this
Yep.
so that we can really do this.
Yeah, just need to vote the API
Okay.
just to move forward with that.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit so that we are sure that we can get this all done. All right, cool. So, like I said, it was time for Sean to do some talking. So let's see. What do we have for you? We have an edition of a contributing guide. Well, then everyone can start contributing now. I mean,
Yes, it was bringing along some of the concepts from the Xamarin Community Toolkit, along with some of the newer or more modern rules that we can follow. We're dealing with null checking and bits like that. There's also additions to editor config to hopefully make it easier for people to follow. So you don't have to get to the point of the PR and someone says, oh, well, you could have done this. In theory, editor config and Visual Studio should guide people to do it. So.
Sorry, I was just putting this in the chat, and I noticed that this was the contributing guide for the Xamarin Community Toolkit. Anyway, so I'll link the right one in a little bit. So that's great. That's great. Yeah, because I know a lot of people have already been asking me like, hey, how should I get started with contributing? And I'm happy to help each and every one of you with that, but that doesn't really scale very well. So it's good to have some instructions on here so that people can get started themselves. this is the right link. Sorry, so let me just put that in the chat.
It should also help as well with because now we've restructured to have multiple packages. So
right,
there is a fancy diagram that I think Brandon drew to show you where you should put your changes if you're working different parts.
You code. Okay. Cool. Yeah, because I think this is what we talked about like in the last stand-up, right? That we broke up into Maui.core and Maui so that we have the abstraction the same as .NET Maui, where we work with interfaces so that, if someone else wants to join us and provide some other backend or whatnot and use the things that are in core, then now people can do that where we would before have a little bit of a tight coupling going on, which is something that no one likes, right? So we made that decision now that we are still in preview as well, and we made this decision to do this. And I think not too many people complained about it, so I think we're still good there. And then there's some guidance on like the null checking, file scope namespaces, all these kinds of amazing things that you should know whenever you want to contribute to our little code base right here. So now there's no excuse to basically start contributing to the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit. Oh, there's another fun one, Sean, and we don't have much time left, so let's just end with this one. And this is, Sean, I know you feel that
me
this
holding
is
my hand up and admitting I
your
made a mistake.
problem, but like Pedro already said in our maintainer chat thing as well, like we let this go through the pull request review as well, because there is a typo in the XML namespace. It was the toolkit instead of the toolkit, and here we have a little PR to fix that, and it's already merged.
It's merged, yes. So it will be coming. So when people do actually get around to using it, they may notice that things break, and they'll have to be aware that they'll have to add the correct spelling. It's most frustrating in the fact that I think I fixed the left-hand side of the namespace declaration typo throughout all of the samples, but I just didn't fix the one on the right-hand side. I guess the other introduction is because obviously when Visual Studio or IntelliSense automatically adds the namespace for you, if you're using the code action, it would typically take the last part of the path, which in this example was toolkit, but we've now moved it over to using MCT as an alias, given in the belief that it should be more unique than something like toolkit.
Yeah.
And it's shorter to keep the
I think people would generally like, I see Vlad already said like, hey, I like MCT. This other person, VJ, saying MCT, XCT, that's also kind of like, technically MCT is not the correct abbreviation here because it's .NET MAUI Community Toolkit and not MAUI Community Toolkit, but it just, in line with XCT, it's a little bit easier to talk about this. So it seems more people like the MCT things, and we just merged it that way. So, I think generally people don't mind what the actual left-hand side is as long as it's not too long, so that it will not add too much XAML right there. So I think this is good. So if you're watching this and you already use the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit, there will be a tiny breaking change in there. Sorry about that, but preview bits. So it's basically it happens. It happens. All right. So we have a couple of minutes more. That was that. We actually went through almost everything here, so that's amazing. I forgot about the source generator, but we talked a little bit about that earlier on. So, Sean is doing some other cool stuff, and glad I see the future of Maui Compat, which is kind of important, but let's move that to the next time. So we're very much working on the docs for the community toolkit, and I know we've had some complaints is maybe too strong of a word, but some feedback that the Examine Community Toolkit docs weren't always that great. So we're trying to do better with the community .NET MAUI Community Toolkit docs, and I think, Sean, we were pretty close to publishing our first set. Is that correct?
Yes, we're waiting on one final detail from some of the Microsoft team. in order to be able to publish to the right place. We need some details in terms of the product and the technology that we're applying it to. So we're failing on the pull request checks at the moment, but David's working on that, getting them registered for us. So hopefully, he's hoping this week, but this week, next week.
And because you are lucky enough to be here with a Microsoft employee, I can give you an exclusive look at how this looks already, because this preview is only available to Microsoft employees. So here we are. You can see here Sean's little avatar. And we have the first .NET MAUI Community Toolkit docs going on here.
The other point that might be worth mentioning is if you jump back to the PR quickly. Oh, maybe I should have a light theme there. On the index.yaml, the third from bottom. Click on that one. Because we're sharing the doc space with.
I think this doesn't look as intended, maybe.
No.
I'm not sure. But we're going to have this amazing landing page, right? That was what
there's a landing page that we're sharing between 3 toolkits, because there's the .NET Community Toolkit, the Windows Community Toolkit, and the .NET MAUI Community Toolkit.
And maybe because it needs to scrape together from all the toolkits, maybe it doesn't show up right in like the preview, or maybe because it isn't published yet. So I guess
I don't know. On the pull request that I closed, it relates to this one. It did have a preview. If you click on that one, there's a screenshot in there that showed you the landing page.
Ooh, let's do a screenshot. Whoa, this is it this
It's
one?
been a learning experience going through all of this stuff.
Yeah, it's documentation. Is it as simple as it
There
seems? Here we
Yeah.
are.
So-
This is it. So this is going to be our, actually all the .NET Community Toolkit's landing page. And that's been really exciting. Also, the Windows Community Toolkit is going to be in here. .NET MAUI Community Toolkit, all the toolkits. So that's going to be really, really amazing. And that's all the time we got, actually. Well, this is exactly on time. So let's just end at this one. Thank you so much for joining us again. Please go over all the discussions, all the issues that I've linked in the repo. Check up on us, provide your input. Thank you so much, Sean, Vlad, Pedro, for all your time you're putting into this project, and also joining us here for this stand-up. And we'll be seeing you for the next stand-up next month, every first Thursday of every month. So that will be the first week of March. Thank you so much. See you then.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We have to awkwardly wait for a little bit while I find the outro here. I don't know. Thanks for watching. Here we go. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
No. Oh, I need to. Oh, okay.